Good morning, everybody. Now, I did a poll recently on X. I do them regularly, but this poll got the lowest interest out of any poll that I'd done. And the question was, what would you rather have for local government? And that was related to the UK and England in particular. Only 437 people responded to this poll. I'm not sure why there was such a low interest because local government is very, very important to your everyday life. It is as important as national government, particularly in terms of what happens in your local area. People often complain about or are concerned about things happening in their locality, their town, their city, their neighborhood, whether it is crime or street lighting or housing estates going up or wind turbines or solar panels or what's going to happen to historic buildings, what's going to happen to parks, public toilets, local education. All of these things are in the purview of local government or have been. They're being removed from local government bit by bit, but still it is a very important tier of government. People engage with the national general elections much more than they do with local elections. So the turnout for national elections in Westminster is always higher. It's historically been 70 to 80%, but the last election this year, there were only 60% of people voted. So turnout is down, and we have got this dreadful Labour Starmer regime in, which is doing all kinds of terrible things. But at local level, turnout is usually 30 to 40%. So that means 60 to 70%, perhaps two-thirds of people don't bother to vote in local government. And then you get local councillors who have power to implement what they want and their schemes and their agendas at local level. And almost all of them in the Uniparty, the fake Conservatives, Labour, Lib Dem, Green, are adherent to Agenda 2030, the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals, pushing climate alarmism, pushing diversity, equality and inclusion, which is inequality and non-inclusion for the majority most of the time, social credit scoring, all this kind of things, low traffic neighbourhoods, which restrict your freedom of movement, and of course the LGBT agenda by allowing drag queens and so on to do their shows in libraries and schools if they still run them. They still run a lot of local primary schools, not so much secondary schools now, but there are still a significant number of primary schools in the under the purview of the local education authorities, which are ultimately have their decisions made by the councillors that you elect in local elections. So in this poll I did, I gave four options. What would you rather like? Would you rather like a county only, a county council only, a district council only, a county and a district council, which is what we have still in 21 counties in England, or one like unitary authority, a district with a regional mayor? Now, of the people that did vote, and I know it's a very low sample, only 437 people, but 63% said they'd like one tier, so either a county only or a district only. Only 9% said that they would like a district and a regional mayor. So that's a very, very unpopular option. But that is what is happening, and that is what is being implemented around England at the moment. So I'm calling this the dissolution of England, because what's happening is a continuation, what's happening now, I should say, is a continuation of what started under Tony Blair from very early on, when he came into power in 1997. And one of the first things he did was he set up a Welsh Parliament, a Scottish Parliament, a Northern Ireland Assembly. And in England, they tried to regionalise England according to the regions that it was split into under the EU. So there's a Mayor of London was created, in the London region, as it was thought of in the EU. They first of all tried to get a northeast regional assembly set up, which would have the powers of the Scottish Parliament, the Welsh Assembly, but the people of the northeast didn't want that, quite sensibly. That's back in 1998, 99, I think the vote for that was. The people rejected it because they thought, well, we're in England. We don't need a regional assembly with another layer of politicians, which are just going to take a lot of money and cream a lot of money off for themselves and their mates. So that's a very, very sensible decision. But now this idea of regionalising England, of splitting it up into little fiefdoms, is back in earnest. So over the last 12 years since David Cameron was Prime Minister, and he tried to push the idea of the big society, this communitarian idea that there would be the stakeholders of society, which is not the people, but they would have power and tell us, what to do, basically collectivize things in another tier of power. He introduced police and crime commissioners in the counties of England and Wales, and he also imposed regional mayors or metro mayors on 9 different areas of England. So Greater Manchester, Merseyside, Tees Valley, the West Midlands, the whole Greater Birmingham area, etc. Now we're in a situation where the government is trying to push forward this agenda over the whole of England. And what they're saying on one level sounds good. They're saying, well, we need to get rid of districts and counties where there are districts and counties still, a lot of the rural counties of England, and there are county council elections in May, so areas like West Sussex, East Sussex, Surrey, Warwickshire, Lincolnshire, Norfolk, Essex, Devon, lots of places where they still have districts and counties. They want to merge the districts and counties into unitary authorities, like they've already done in Wiltshire and Cornwall and Buckinghamshire and places like this. Now, I don't have anything against that per se, because sometimes it can be easier for people to connect with a local council if there's one, because sometimes people have a problem. They go to the district and the district says, oh, it's not us that deals with that. Go to the county. They go to the county says, it's not our problem. Go to the district. They go back to the district, and they get passed from pillar to post trying to solve a problem. But the 2 different counties you've got operating in the same area won't take responsibility for something. So if you've got a unitary authority, sometimes that's useful for people because there's one council in charge of your area, so you know who to go to if you've got an issue with something to do with local government. There's a couple of problems I do have with it, however. Number one is that the people are not being asked. They just want to drive this through, and the government's issued a paper saying that there's 10 counties, that's 10 out of the 21 that still have counties and districts, are going to have unitary authorities imposed on them. So Surrey, for example, Essex, Kent, East Sussex, West Sussex, Hampshire seems to be the places in the south where the system of county and district is very strong and people like it, but they want to get rid of it to impose unitary authorities. The other thing with this is at the moment you can vote every year because in many places, in most places, you have the county election, then a district, and the elections for the next 3 years. So some places you get to vote for your local councillors every year in one form or another. If they replace them with unitary authorities, like they have done in Wiltshire and Somerset and Northamptonshire, you only get to vote once every 4 years. You don't get to vote once every year, as you do in some places at the moment. But the worst thing is that what they will do as well is, they're saying that if you have unitary authorities, this is going to save you money because there'll only be two, instead of two tiers of councils, there'll only be one, so you'll save money on costs, you can pool costs. Okay, that might be true. But what they're going to do is to just wreck that is impose another layer on top of these unitary authorities or counties that you've got, which will be a regional mayor. So, in the place where I'm from West Sussex, what they want to do is impose a regional mayor that will have complete control or very large control over West Sussex, East Sussex, and Brighton and Hove. And there's others. So there's a map here which shows how the government wants to ultimately split England into 35 to 40 little fiefdoms, each with their own version of Sadiq Khan. So whatever Sadiq Khan has power over in London, these little regional mayors will get the same amount of power and more. There's already some of the regional mayors, some of the metro mayors, like the Tees Valley mayor and the mayor of Greater Manchester, have more control over what happens in their area than Sadiq Khan does over London. And Sadiq Khan is always agitating to get more powers for himself and to set rent controls and things like this. But most of them have control over transport and housing and planning, to some extent skills and education, whether it's adult education, further education. The Mayor of Manchester has control over the NHS in Manchester, so healthcare, and also industry and business strategy that goes along with planning. So they're always agitating for more powers to come down to their level of governance. But when those powers might come down from Westminster, they will also go up, get sucked up from the districts and the counties and the unitary authorities that we have at local level. So they will impose this new tier of regional mayors over the counties of England, who will be like little lords of their fiefdom. And it will be very, very difficult to challenge them because they will just do what they want. So all the powers over all of these areas will be vested in one person, like Sadiq Khan has those powers in London at the moment over transport and police and crime and so on, fire and emergency planning, and a lot to do with housing too. This is completely and brazenly undemocratic because ostensibly, yes, you'll be able to vote for your regional mayor. But unlike at the moment where you vote for counties and districts and there are, dozens of councillors on a council, so there is a chance of, some debate going on and some, exchange, and you hope people will work things out for the best. Although, of course, obviously, Tory, Labour, Lib Dem, Green are all the same uniparty, so there is no difference between them. But there is a possibility of getting Heritage Party councillors on councils to challenge the uniparty. But if you have these 35 to 40 regional mayors, the thing is with these, the fees or the deposit to stand in the elections for these regional mayors is now £5,000 or £10,000, depending on where you are. London, it's £10,000. I think Manchester is £5,000, and it depends, but it's a very, very high amount. So the Heritage Party is not going to stand in these regional mayor contests because, well, we just we need to save our money for things that are more important. For us, I mean, this is important, but we're saving our money, obviously, for the general election to stand when the next general election happens. Hopefully, it'll be sooner rather than later. But at the moment, you see, standing to be a councillor in a district or a county is free. There's no deposit. So anyone can stand for free. You need 2 signatures on your nomination forms and you can stand. It's very easy once you know what forms you have to fill in. We have a growing number of candidates in the Heritage Party every year, and everyone who goes for it, gets through the process very quickly, and we help people to do that. But if you want to stand for a regional mayor, you need £5,000 or £10,000, and you also need 100 signatures or more, depending on which authority you're standing for, which regional mayorship you're standing for. So it's very difficult for an ordinary person, a challenger party like the Heritage Party, or an independent candidate to find the people, the funds, to actually be able to stand. You have to be wealthy, and it's a big, project, a big undertaking to get 100 signatures. Or for London, it's 330 signatures for the 33 boroughs there that you need, 10 for each borough. So this is going to make England essentially be dissolved, cut up, split up into 35 different regions, with power taken from above and below, with people that are mostly beholden to the Agenda 2030 goals, the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals, who are going to impose the WEF, the UN's plan and program for global to local governance. And they love this because they can get people in. Doesn't matter whether they're fake Conservative or Labour or Green or Lib Dem. It doesn't matter at all. They'll all do exactly the same thing. As I said, they're going to impose these 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which militate against freedom, which militate against the free market, and which is even worse, acts to destroy our heritage and our culture. I mean, most of these people, they will open up their areas for migration. They will do this, and the way this is done is that the government offers areas some money, like lots of money. Say, if you set up a regional mayor, we're going to give you some money. But the money they give them is allocated into different pots. So they give them this amount of money for, they call it the green economy, for wind and solar, this amount of money for setting up a data center, this amount of money for building houses on farmland, this amount of money for accepting so many migrants into your area, this amount of money for promoting diversity, and which is essentially promoting LGBTQAPPIT, whatever it is, and teaching that to children. And the government gives all these different pots of money to do all of these things, which are destroying our country and are imposing the agenda of the Communist Manifesto and the cultural Marxist totalitarians. That's how they do it. So they say, oh, we'll give you this money. It sounds good. People say, oh, yeah, we'd like that money, please. And then they agree to have a regional mayor. And then the regional mayor comes in. You can't really vote for someone who really represents the people, our culture, our heritage, our nation. And they take over this area and start to impose all the globalist agendas locally. And it saves the government in Westminster from having to do it themselves, because they will split England up into 40 different regions, and you'll have these 40 different minions of the globalist cabal imposing their agenda. And so this is where it's going, and this is the purpose behind it. And I completely oppose the idea of regional mayors and metro mayors being imposed on England, because it's going to cut England up, slice it up, and impose these people who are going to wreck our country, just like Sadiq Khan has wrecked London over his 9 years in office. He's got another 3 more, and there's another election, and heaven knows if he'll be elected again. I hope not, but it's very hard what's going on in London at the moment. I would get rid of them all. I would introduce legislation to abolish and dissolve all of the metro mayors, all of the regional mayors, and go back to counties and districts or unitary authorities. I don't mind if there's unitary authorities, as long as there's not a regional mayor on top which has all the power, which means the unitary authorities don't have any power. So, you might as well not bother voting for them. No, I'm not I'm not encouraging you not to vote. What I'm saying is, if you have a county and a district, and then you've got a regional mayor on top of it imposed, they have way, way more power than the councillors in the districts and boroughs and counties and unitary authorities. Now, please do go and vote. I'm not saying don't vote. I'm just saying the whole system is wrong, and these regional mayors and metro mayors in England need to be abolished so that power truly goes back to people, and people need to be engaged much more in local government elections. If just 40% of us vote, we're always going to get the uniparty. We're always going to get dreadful people. You've got to go out and vote for someone who is going to restore our nation and really look after the areas of our country that are in local government authorities control. So please do come and join us in the Heritage Party. Stand for the council elections on the 1st of May 2025, and there are 32 areas of the country where there are elections in local government in England. They're going to be very, very important, because who you get in your local councils is going to determine in some places whether you do get some of these new deals done. Because if you elect Tory, Labour, Lib Dem, Green councillors in May 2025, they're going to accept these deals from the government to impose regional mayors, give their powers away, because they're going to get a little bit of money from it. And you're going to find yourself with someone who has almost total control over many, many areas of your local life. If you vote for Heritage Party candidates, you're going to get Heritage Party councillors who are not going to agree to the imposition of local mayors or local deals where the money is allocated to destroy your local area and your culture and your heritage. We'll look after it. So please come and join us. heritageparty.org. You can sign up. If you're a member, you can apply to be a candidate. And please do come and support our candidates if you can. Thanks, everybody. This is a very important topic, even though on the surface it may not seem like it, because we must resist the dissolution of England.